Hello everyone, welcome to the Makri Virtual. Hope you are doing good. Today I am going to continue with the same module, that is the business skills for e-commerce, and the same chapter, that is chapter number 2, that is framework for e-commerce or framework of e-commerce. In the last class we have discussed about the e-commerce building blocks, that is what is e-commerce and what are the building blocks that is available in e-commerce. So e-commerce building blocks includes the object as well as the object classes. That includes the object and their related classes. That is the building blocks or the e-commerce building blocks. So let's discuss what we have covered in the last class and then move to the today's topic. That is the next part of the e-commerce, that is the framework of e-commerce. That is the traditional approach and the modern approach. So this is building blocks, that is object and the object classes. That is e-commerce building blocks includes the object and their classes. The activities, functions of e-commerce need certain basic building blocks. What are the blocks? One is unstructured information, that is the reports, free-form text, voice, video. So these are the various unstructured information that also contains that are part of the e-commerce, right? Or that is a part of the e-commerce. Then next is structured information, that is your electronic information, that is EDI messages, electronic form, contracts, contact rules, design specification, etc. Then transactions, records. So these are the various building blocks of the e-commerce that makes the part of the e-commerce, or that makes the majority of the e-commerce, or that makes the transactions of the e-commerce. And that also includes the agent, brokers, object for sale, decision support model, and simulations. These building blocks are likely to become the standard digital objects of e-commerce over time. They will probably become increasingly comprehensive and refined. Right. Then next part is your business applications. That is how e-commerce is used, or what are the building blocks that is available in e-commerce that is related to the business application. So this says this layer corresponds to the real business transactions. That is, this layer means the business application, that is how the e-commerce is used in the various business application fields. So that is related to the real business transactions that takes place using the digital messaging techniques. A few of the common business applications that can be offered online can be listed as below. That is, this is one of the these are the some common application areas in which the online or the e-commerce takes place, or the online transactions takes place. What are the common business applications? First is online education and learning, then online marketing, communication, promotion, shopping, e-procurement, e-purchasing, online gaming, news and bulletin board, customer feedback, satisfaction survey, research, retailing, sales, after sales, e-auction, stock trading and brokering, entertainment, digital video, online banking like ATM. So these are the various application areas in which e-commerce is used. Then what are the issues that involved in e-commerce? We have studied there are so many issues that is involved in e-commerce, that is divided into various categories. One is financial issues, that includes customs and taxations, electronic payment and fund transfer. These are the financial issues that is involved in e-commerce. Next is legal and regulatory issues. That is the next issue that is available. One is uniform commercial code, then intellectual property protection, then privacy. These are the various legal and regulatory issues. Security, confidentiality and integrity, protection of consumer right. This is the important one, confidentiality and integrity. Confidentiality includes that every user, every concern must have a unique username and the password. That is a confidentiality. Integrity means the username and the password must match or match with each other. Then only the page will be displayed. That is the integrity. That means integrate the username and the password. Then protection of consumer rights and interest. Then content liability, dispute resolution and jurisdiction. So this is also a legal and the regulatory issues that is available in e-commerce. Then market related issues, that is what are the market related issues that is available with e-commerce. First is market development stage, competition, customer orientation, trust and reliability. These are the market related issues that is available for the e-commerce. The network protocols and technical standards. That is, what are the network protocols that is available, and the technical standards, that is also an issue. That is, what type of protocols are used in e-commerce and what type of standards, rules, regulations are used in e-commerce. So network protocol that is used is transmission protocol and the standards, multimedia formats, hardware standards, interoperability, backward and forward integration, document specifications, compatibility, acceptability of standards. So these are the various protocols and the technical standards that is used with the e-commerce. Then next is socio-cultural issues. So this is the next issue, that is the socio-cultural, that includes perceived economic appeal, attitude towards e-commerce, usability, lifestyle, demographics of target market, purchase potential, social and religious dynamics. So these are the various issues that is related to the social and the cultural issue. That is, the social sites are using and the cultural sites are used by the also used by the e-commerce. That is, what is the demographic of the target market, what is the lifestyle of the people, what is the purchase potential, what is the dynamics of the people. That includes the social as well as the religious. So these are the various issues that is divided into multiple parts. Now next is that we have already studied, that is the e-compatible legal and financial framework. First of all, an Indian approach. That is how there is a compatibility of the e-commerce that is includes the legal and the financial framework. So first is an Indian approach. That is the Indian approach, that is the e-compatible framework. This is all over the world, globalization and the new information and communication technology that are restructuring the commercial distribution circuits are reinforcing the linkage between the internal and external trade. That is all over the world, that is used the globalization and the information that is available that restructure the commercial distribution circuit are reinforcing, are using the linkages between the internal and the external trade. That is the e-compatible legal and the financial framework. Even developing countries like India, therefore, can no more treat the internal and external sectors in isolation. That is also available for the e-commerce. So we have studied about the Indian approach in the last class. That is how the various rules, regulations that will follow for the e-commerce. What are the questions, what are the public authorities that will engage on the national market and the international trade by their companies and citizens. Then the next part is legal framework. That is the legal framework. So legal issues encompasses two basic areas, those of regulation and those of making legal system compatible to and for e-commerce. That is a legal issue, that is a legal framework. So this legal framework we have not discussed in the last class, so this is the today's topic. So let's start with the today's topic. That is what is the today's topic? That is starting with the legal framework. That is how legal framework can be used for e-commerce. That is, what are the legal rules and regulations that is used in the e-commerce. This says legal issues encompasses two basic areas, those of resolution or regulation and those of making legal systems compatible to and for e-commerce. So this includes or this encompasses or this includes two basic areas, those of resolution and those of making legal system that is compatible to and from or for e-commerce. The latter, that is a next one, that is making the legal system compatible, that is for e-commerce, though perceived as being facilitator in content and requires a formal for it to be effectual. That is this one, that is a legal system that is used for e-commerce, is used as a facilitator that becomes the formal to be effectual. There are in fact many things that government might reasonably wants to regulate on the internet. These includes not just serious efforts or affronts to human values such as child pornography and incitement to racial hatred, but also the consumer protection. So this lines or this paragraph only says that there should be a proper legal framework that is used for e-commerce. That is, there is a proper rules regulation that we follow for the e-commerce. The existing rules and laws would and should apply to the internet and the e-commerce. The problem is not whether the internet should be regulated, but how? How is that possible? This entirely new sort of communication poses several entirely new sorts of problems for regulators. A legal framework for e-commerce has been provided by the Act that is known as IT Act 2001. So this is the IT Act that we have studied in the first chapter also. That is, one act is available, one framework is available for e-commerce, that is provided by the IT Act 2001. That makes the India only the 12th country worldwide which has such a comprehensive legislation for e-commerce in place. This act also affects consequential amendment in the Indian Penal Code, the Indian Execute Evidence Act 1872 and the RBI Act 1934 to bring them in line with the requirements of digital transactions. This is very similar to the Companies Act 1956 that is also facilitating the e-commerce and the e-governance. So this is paragraph simply says what are the rules regulation, what are the standards that is maintained, what are the act that is maintained or that is available for the e-commerce. One of the act is IT Act 2001 and Indian Evidence Act 1872, RBI Act 1934. So these are the various act that is available for e-commerce. The IT Act essentially seeks to address three areas or perceived requirements for the digital era. That is the IT Act that is available, that is required or that is available for the digital era. What are the three areas in which the IT Act will follow? To make possible e-commerce transaction. Next is to make possible e-governance transactions. Next is to curb cyber crime and regulate the internet. So this is the IT Act that is used for the three areas. First of all, to make the e-commerce possible or to make possible e-commerce transactions, to make possible e-governance transactions, to curb cyber crime and regulate the internet. So these are the three issues, these are the three requirements for the day-to-day scenarios, for the day-to-day eras. To first of all make the possible e-commerce transactions, e-governance transactions, and then cyber crime, and then regulate the internet. Rules under the IT Act that is available, the IT Act that is what I said, IT Act 2001 has been formulated and a national controller for enforcing the act appointed. That is, first of all the rules are defined and then a national controller is enforcing this act that is appointed. This controller will regulate the certifying authorities that will issue the digital signature and the system for authentication. So this controller will regulate various authorities that will issue or that will create the issue for the digital signature and the system for authentication. These steps need to be matched by sorting out the issues of security and payments. That is, these steps must be used or must be matched out by sorting out the various content by various issues of securities and payment. Security and authentication arrangement need to be recognized and accepted globally. That is, the security and the authentication arrangement that is available, that is, there must be a proper security, there must be authentication. Like for example, there is a unique username and password for each and every individual. That is authentication, that is security. That arrangement must be recognized and accepted on a global basis, on a regular basis. On the first, through government such as US government have taken several steps, countries like India are yet to develop reliable technology. US company developing them are presently restricted by their government from the export of such technologies. That is, US companies also presented or are also used by various technologies that is available for the e-commerce, and there are various issues that is need to be take care of by the government to make the reliable technology, to provide the reliable technology. Either they can do it, that is the government can do it from the export of such technology or at the international level, so that these issues will be resolved, these technologies will be in use for a longer time. Next paragraph says, security and control provisions in the IT Act, especially those relating to cyber crime, has been criticized by the media and free speech advocates. That is, the security and the control provisions are also dealing with the cyber crimes. That is, there are some provisions in the IT Act That is, there are some rules, regulation, provisions that is available in IT Act that is also relating to the cyber crime, has been criticized by the media and free speech advocates. After all, the right of freedom of speech and the right to information are fundamental to democracy. An attempt to control IT and e-commerce must not seem to be attempt to curb the growth of the internet, as some countries in the Middle East and the China are attempting to do so. The broad and sweeping powers given to the police without a warrant or judicial overview has been criticized by several experts as well as the NASCOM. That is, the various issues or powers are also available by the police or also taken care by the police has been criticized by various experts. So these regulations are also criticized by various experts. For example, NASCOM. This is also expert technology that is used or that is developed or that is criticized by the various experts. The government needs to be extremely careful in this era, as attempt at controlling pornography should not be seen as or result in creating hindrance to the government of or growth of the internet in India. With the advent of new security mechanisms such as electronic digital signature certificate etc, the future of electronic commerce rests on confidentiality. That is, with the indent of or with the introduction of the new security provisions that is provided, such as the electronic transactions, electronic media that is available, digital signature, the future of the e-commerce rests on the confidentiality. Another fact of security is privacy. So one is confidentiality. That means, as I said, there is a confident information that is available. For example, there is a unique username and the password. Another fact of security is privacy, which is also closely related to the data collection, interpretation, dissemination and the circulation. That is also a one part. That is, the security is also related to the data collection, that is how to collect the data, interpretation, dissemination and circulation. Standards are required to govern the way in which personal information is acquired, disclosed and used online. That is, the standards are also given, are also required to govern the way, to provide the way in which the personal information is acquired, disclosed and used online. One of the criticism leveled against the IT Act is that it does not have any clause ensuring security and protection of online consumers. Legal opinion is divided on this point, with some experts arguing that the existing Consumer Protection Act 1986 is quite comprehensive and can be extended to cover online consumers also. That is, this Consumer Protection Act 1986 is also comprehensive and can be extended to cover online consumer also, as it is dealing with, as after all, online shopping is just another way of transacting the business. However, even this be the case, there are several aspects peculiar to digital transactions such as electronic payment, confidentiality, transaction data, etc. that lead to the problem arising in the cyber space, that is available for the cyber space. An international consensus on privacy protection is developing around the OECD guidelines on the protection of privacy and transporters that is available. So with the use of the personal data, international consent on the or international consensus on the privacy protection is also available in the e-commerce. That is, the international rules are also provided in the e-commerce to make them effective, to make them the transactions very effective. So sorry. The main being that government department not only lacking the hardware for electronic transaction, but will also need to reorient that systems or their systems and procedure before they are ready to interact with through electronic document. That is, this is not the case that their documents are not effective, their documents are not used in a proper way, but also concern is that that will use or that will orient their systems and procedure that is followed, that is proper rules and regulations are used before they are ready to interact through the electronic documents. Now next is e-governance. That is, what is e-governance and how it will or how these rules and regulation is provided as a framework for the e-commerce, right? So let's start with the e-governance. This says e-governance implies action and commitment of the state and its agency at two levels. That is, e-governance used or applies or includes action and commitment of the state. That is, what is the action and what is the commitment of the state and its agency at two levels. What are the two levels in which they are used? First of all, e-governance involves the promotion of the information. It means the e-governance involves or includes the promotion of the information and communication technologies, and especially e-commerce on the one hand. So it involves the promotion of the information, communication technologies, and especially e-commerce on the one hand. Next point says the adopting of these technologies and all they involve in the matter of a completely new type of commitment. That is the adopting of information and the open system that is available, that is also used for the e-commerce open system and the use of the medium of the internet for government businesses. That is, whenever we use the new technologies and the new invention of the technology, that is also available for the e-commerce. So adoption of these technology, commitment, open system and use of the internet medium or use of the medium, that is internet, for business or government businesses, citizen interaction, and most important for development. Fortunately, today several e-governance projects are underway in several states of India. That is, in the day-to-day scenario, most of the e-governance projects are made or underway or are used in several states of India. The introduction of e-governance could turn out to be one of the most reaching or one of the far-reaching and progressive step in India. So whenever we use the e-commerce, it is one of the most important far-reaching means the better effective and the progressive step in India that is used for the e-commerce. Not only thus, it signal a commitment of government, but also it introduced the IT for efficiency in government services. That is, it introduced the IT, that is the information technologies that is used for the government services. So and the citizen interface, but it could also used as the most important weapon or the most potent weapon against the emerging and growing digital device. Some of the challenges in this regard, that is, what are the challenges that is available in this regard, what is the challenge that is available for e-governance. First of all, handling the feudal mindset. That is, there are different mindsets for different people. So handling the mindset of the people, that is, information is seen as a power and those having it to do not wish to it to give up. That is handling the feudal mindset, that is, information is seen as a power, is seen as a facility, and those having it, it does not wish to give it up. Next point says implementation requires change management and re-engineering of government agencies. That is, implementation also requires the change in the management. That is, the change management and re-engineering of government agencies and no so much of technology. That is, the implementation also requires the change management. That is, the change in the management and also re-engineering the government agencies and no so much of technology that is used for the e-commerce. That is, simply implement the change management. Then next one is transparency. There is also a challenge that is used in this regard, that is the transparency. That is the issue of making government dealings transparent and thereby reducing corruption. That is, the transparency is also there in e-commerce. So this is also a challenge, that is, should be a transparency, that is the issue of making, or that is the issue of making the government dealings that includes everything, that is transparent to the user, so that there is no corruption. Everything is clear to every user. Not only that, one user knows one thing, another user does not know nothing. That is not the case. Every user must know everything whenever there is any change in the policy, whenever there is any rules regulation changes. So there is a transparency among various users. Then next point says labor and union problems in government as these are perceived to be a threat to established procedures and vested interest. Then implementation of e-governance is quite obviously not going to be very easy or smooth. That is, whenever we implement the e-commerce, it is also quite not only possible, it is also quite not only given that is used as a very smooth or easy learning. There is still a great deal of confusion among implementing agencies at various levels as to what exactly e-commerce and e-governance are and how to go about it. Part of the problem is that some of these organizations have inadequate internal computer personnel who have their own limitations in understanding and implementing e-governance scheme or in serving as a bridge between the organization and professional external organization. So whenever we implement the e-governance, that is quite obvious or that is quite including that is not going to be very easy or smooth. There is still a great deal of confusion among various issues that is available for e-commerce. Part of the problem is that some of these organizations have inadequate internal computer personnel who have their own limitation in understanding and implementing e-governance scheme that is available for e-commerce that makes a bridge between the organization and professional external organization. There is also a need for integration and governance or convergence of services offered by different departments so that a truly point service can involve. Extensive coverage of rural areas is also going to take time. Next paragraph says, despite these constraints, that is despite these rules regulation constraints, the initiatives here are crucial. That is the initiatives that is given are crucial. By using the internet as a tool for electronic governance, the environment for e-commerce development itself would be furthered and strengthened. The premise here is that in promoting business online, that is, regardless of these constraints, the internet is used. By using the internet, it is available a tool for the e-governance, that is environment for e-commerce development itself, that is used as a strength for the various electronic devices. The premise here is that in promoting business online, government will facilitate the delivery of information, goods and services. This will then deliver more traffic across data network, which in turn will serve to provide the revenues, investment, rationale that is needed to encourage further infrastructure development, that is used as a further infrastructure development. Then next is financial framework, that is the consideration of the e-commerce framework, e-governance framework. That is the next part is on the basis of the financial framework, how e-commerce is act as, that is the financial framework. So first of all, let's take a break and then move to this part, that is the framework, then moves to the summary part. So first of all, let's take a break right now, then moving to financial framework. So let's take a break. So come back from the break. Let's move the next session, or let's move to the next topic, that is the financial framework that is related to the e-commerce. That is, what are the financial framework that is affecting the e-commerce. So this is one of the major concern that is available, or one of the major concern of developing countries are perceived dangers foreign exchange outflow on account of e-commerce. That is, whenever we use the e-commerce, or whenever there is a developing countries, or what is the main concern of developing countries, that is perceived dangers foreign exchange outflow on account of e-commerce, that is through the purchase of goods abroad. In order, therefore, to encourage e-commerce development, banking procedures within developing countries need to be aligned, need to be used and made compatible with digital trade transactions so that consumer and buyers can easily make purchases locally through the internet. That is, with the use of e-commerce development, with the use of e-commerce, whenever we use the e-commerce, encouraging the e-commerce, banking procedures and rules regulations must be aligned and make compatible with digital trade transactions so that consumers and buyers can easily make purchases locally through the internet. That is, they are local with each other, they are doing the transactions with each other. Along with changes in contract and company law, that is, whenever there is a change in the contract and the company law that is used, e-commerce would also require a financial or the e-commerce would also requires a financial and banking framework that allows for electronic payment and transfer. So whenever there is a change in the contract and company law, e-commerce would also require a financial or requires a financial and banking framework that allows for the electronic payment and transfer. That is allows for electronic payment and transfer that is used for the e-commerce. This would include requirement for certification of documents, electronic signature, confidentiality, and privacy. That is, whenever we use the e-commerce, whenever we use the financial benefits banking framework that is used for the electronic payment, that is the e-payment and transfer, that includes the requirement for certification of document, electronic signals or electronic signatures, digital certificate, confidentiality, and privacy. Therefore, India needs to put in place both the electronic network as well as a regulatory framework to allow for such transactions. That is, the India is used or India can be used or is used to put in place for both the electronic network and the regulatory framework, that is the financial institutions as well as the regulatory framework to allow for such transactions. Banking regulations and rules as a result of changes in the RBI Act therefore need to be adjusted to the new formats and requirements. The IT Act therefore needs matching implementations at the fiscal regulatory level. That is, IT Act that is used needs the matching implementation that is used at the physical regulatory level. Payment gateways for e-commerce transactions are one of the most essential requirements for establishing and developing e-commerce. That is, the payment gateway is also used for establishing are the most essential requirements for establishing and developing the e-commerce. That is a payment gateway. These need to be well established and standard in India. That is, these means the payment gateway must be used or must be well standards or must be well established and standard in India, must be used on a strong basis in India. Today, some of the banking institutions, that is most of the banking institutions and some of the banking institutions are offering this service, that is the electronic payment transfer. That is, everything is doing electronically or everything is done electronically. Even the transfer payment or the payment transfer is also done electronically via the internet. So these need to be well established and standard in India. Those some of the making today some of the banking institutions are offering this service with international collaboration, but for this to truly make a mark, electronic fund transfer and a credit card culture must involve and set in India. That is, some of the banking institutions in India are also using the electronic fund transfer, that is the digital fund transfer, that is the e-fund transfer, that is the electronic fund transfer with international collaboration. But for making this, there is a great demand for the credit card that is used that must involve and set in India. Now, summary. There is a summary part that is used. This says the e-commerce framework and the information infrastructure. So this is the summary, that is the last or ending of the chapter, that is the what is the summary or what does this chapter includes. So the first paragraph says e-commerce framework and information infrastructure still in the early stages of development. That is still it in the growing stage that is available for the e-commerce. Over the next decade, advances of the EC framework will affect almost every aspect of daily life, education, whether it may be education, it may be healthcare, it may be work, it may be leisure activity. It is included in every part in any part. Separate populations, once separated by distance and time, will experience these changes as a part of global community. That is, disseparate population that is used, once separated by a distance and the time, will used as a changes to a global community. No single force embodies our electronic transformation more than the involving medium known as internet. That is, no single force embodies or no single force is used for the electronic transformation that is involving more than one medium known as the internet. Once a tool reserved for scientific and academic exchange, the internet has emerged as an appliance of everyday life, accessible from almost every point on the planet. Students across the world are discovering vast treasure troves of data via the www. That is, students across the world are discovering vast treasure or vast variety of methods, that is a vast variety of data via the www. That is, mostly people are using the www for accessing the internet, for using the internet. That is the world wide web. Doctors are utilizing telemedicine to administer off-site diagnosis to patients in need. That is, sometimes doctors are also using the telemedicine to treat the various diagnosis patients, that is require the telecommunication, that is require the telemedicine or tele-diseases. Citizens of many nations are also finding additional outlets or additional benefits of e-commerce for their personal as well as the political expression. The internet is being used to reinvent government and reshape our lives and communities in the process. As the internet empowers citizens and democratizes society, it is also a changing classic business and economic paradigms. New models of commercial interaction are developing as a business and consumer participate in the electronic marketplace and reap the resulting benefit. Entrepreneurs are able to start new businesses more easily and with smaller upfront investment requirement by accessing the internet worldwide network of consumers. That is, the consumer also interpret or consumer also encompasses that is citizens and societies. It is also changing requirement, business and economic paradigms. An increasing share of these transactions occurs online. That is, everything is doing online because transactions are doing online. So important share or increasing share of this transaction must be online. That is, everything is the online. We need to keep the transactions online. The EC framework, that is the e-commerce framework, has the potential to revolutionize commerce in these and other areas by dramatically lowering the transaction cost. That is, it lowers the transaction cost because everything is doing online. So there is no transaction cost and facilitates the new type of commercial transactions. The e-commerce will also revolutionize retail and direct marketing. Consumers will be able to shop in their homes for a wide variety of products. That is, consumer can reach the or can accept the products from their homes also, from their place also, from their houses also, for a wide variety of products from the manufacturers and retailers all over the world. They will be able to view these products on their computers or televisions, access information about the products, visualize the way the products may fit together. That is, constructing a roof of furniture on their screen and the order and the pay for their choices all from their living rooms. Commerce on the internet could total 10 of billions of dollars by the 10 of the century or by the turn of the century. For this potential to be realized fully, government must adopt a non-regulatory market-oriented approach to e-commerce, one that facilitates the emergence of transparent and predictable legal environment to support global business and commerce. Official decisions makers must respect the unique nature of the medium and recognize that the widespread competition and increased consumer choice should be the defining feature of the new digital marketplace. That is the new digital marketplace, that is the usage of the new digital marketplace. Many businesses and consumers are still wary of conducting extensive business over the internet because of the lack of a predictable legal environment, growing or governing transaction. This is particularly true for international commercial activity where concern about enforcement of contract, liability, intellectual property, protection, privacy, setting and other matters have caused businesses and consumers to be cautious. That is, caution is given to the consumers. As use of the internet expands, that is, as the usage of the internet expands, many companies and internet users are concerned that some government will impose extensive regulations on the internet and electronic transfer, electronic commerce. Potential areas of problematic regulation include taxes and duties, restrictions on the type of information transmitted, control over standard development, licensing requirements, and rate regulation of service providers. Indeed, signs of these types of commerce inhibiting actions already are appearing on many nations. That is, most of the nations are also using the e-commerce nowadays. That is, most of the countries are using the e-commerce. That is, everything or every transaction is doing online. Preempting these harmful actions before they take a root is a strong motivation for the strategy that is outlined in this chapter. That is, precaution must be taken to ensure that there is no uh, harmful action will be taken or will be given to the various e-commerce transactions. Now, next is last part is where or 2.8 is where keywords. That is, what are the keywords that is used in this chapter. One keyword that is used is interoperable. It means that the system can work on different hardware and software platforms. That is, the system, that is, the program can run or can work on a different hardware and software platform that is available in the e-commerce. That is the interoperable. That is, there is the interoperability, that one operation is performed with the another. That is the interoperable. Then WAN, that is a wide area network. That is also a type of network that is spread through the world. Then WAN, that is a value-added network. That is a privately owned network providing various value-added services. Then protocol, it is a set of rules and regulation for communication and transfer of data between two computers in a network. So protocol are nothing but the rules regulation that is used for the communication and transfer of data. Then middleware, so it is a software that permits usage accounting and payment is known as the middleware. Legacy system, this says these type of system include paper checks, mainframe based settlement, payment system, and electronic data exchange in e-commerce. That is a legacy system. So that is the next part, that is the legacy system. So these are the various keywords that is used in this chapter. Then this is a self-assessment questions. That is questions on the chapter number 2. That is questions on the framework of e-commerce. First question is define e-commerce framework. That is, first of all, define the e-commerce framework. That is what is e-commerce framework, what is the structure of framework, what is the structure of e-commerce. That is a e-commerce framework. That is a next, discuss various building blocks of e-commerce. As we have studied, there are various building blocks like object classes, financial issues, legal issues. These are the various building blocks, these are the various building levels that is used in e-commerce. Then next is e-commerce framework lies on different pillars. As you have studied, there are different levels, there are various actions like government tools, rules, regulation. There are 4 layers in the diagram that we have studied. That is the e-commerce framework. So that e-commerce framework lies on various pillars that we have discussed. There are different levels of the pillar that is available for e-commerce framework. Then fourth point says discuss various applications of e-commerce with regard to customer, that is consumer, business and organization. That is discuss various applications of e-commerce. That is how e-commerce can be used or how e-commerce can be used in the application that is related to the consumer, business and the organizations. Then next is highlight the major provisions of IT Act with respect to e-governance, e-commerce in India. That is, what are the major concerns, what are the major provisions that is available with IT Act with respect to the e-governance and e-commerce in India. Then elaborate various issues to be considered most important while describing the framework of e-commerce. That is, elaborate the various rules, various issues like financial issues, legal issues, regulatory issues. These are the various issues that is covered under this question. Then last question is change is the nature of law. How does this statement is used in business in the changing environment? This says change is the nature of the law. That is everything is changed. That is a nature that is very natural. So how this statement is used in a business in the changing environment? So this statement is a very correct statement. That is every time the changes are made, so every time it is changed in the nature of law. This statement is used in the business for the changing environment. How is it possible? That is, every time it changes to a new environment. So just like a change, in the same way we are moving from a traditional system, that is the offline transactions, to the online transactions. That is a change in the e-commerce, or sorry, doing the transactions over the internet. For business transactions, we are moving from offline to the online. Then these are the various reading books that is available, that is the suggested readings. These are the various e-commerce books. Now, chapter number 3, that is lesson 3, internet service provider. That is, who are the internet service providers? What are the various internet services that is available in internet? So I will be carrying this chapter, or I will be studying this chapter, reading this chapter, teaching this chapter, or taught this chapter in the next class. So that's all for today's class. If there is any doubts, because there is only single person in the class, so there is no need, or there is no requirement for starting the next chapter, that is chapter number 3. Not an issue. So let's stop over here only. Alright, now moves to the next part, that is moves to the next part means moves to the chapter number 3 in the next class, that is tomorrow's class. So let's stop over here only. If there is any doubts, you can clear the doubts from me. That's all for today's session. Thank you so much everyone. Bye bye.